What's going on, everybody? Welcome to PFF's live NFL preview show for Week 14 of the regular season. Oh, Week 14. It just feels bad to say because I know the regular season's about to come to an end, and then it means less football, and then it means the big drought with no football, and now I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm too depressed. We've got a lot of football that we've got to talk here on this show. Before we get to that point, and I'm not alone here on this desk, I have with me Sam Monson, Ian Hartitz, and not Eric Eager. Austin Gayle is here with us this week. Austin, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Stepping in, filling big shoes from the big guy.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
Wow, there it is.
It's massive.
How long did you take to decide what you were going to wear this week?
A long time, all year.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been waiting for this moment. So.
It's not quite a Tresh sweater, as people from the college show know, but I do think that it is solid.
I knew it would be ridiculed regardless, so I kind of just went with the safe.
You know what?
Here.
That was actually good. Although Eric is not here, and I feel like he does most of the ridiculing. Sam, how do we feel this week?
Good. And you decided to keep the mustache.
Of course, the mustache is iconic.
Yeah. It's like Anthony Davis. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, he makes it to the big leagues. He can't shave the unibrow. You just got to lean into it.
We've got like a sweatered Mario over here.
Yeah, exactly. Mario.
you guys are. Ian, do you have anything else to say before we move on?
Fantasy playoffs start next week. It's a great day to be great. Let's go get those squads.
I wanted to make sure that we got that in there. Well, we're not the only ones here at this on this show at this desk. We also have Kendall Valenzuela here with us. Kendall, how are we feeling this week?
Hello, good, doing well. The chat is loving Austin already, so it's pretty.
Austin, I feel like has a specific chat brand.
Yeah, he does. Someone has already asked who's winning an arm wrestling match, Sam or Austin.
Let's go right now. I'll throw it right now. Me too.
I mean, there's no way I'm betting against Austin.
Yeah, let's go.
Look, Sam, I get it. You played rugby. I know you've got that background, but the man's wearing a full-on mustache.
Yeah. Forget this script.
Looks like
I want to
Tom
see this.
Selleck
I can't be the only one that wants to see this.
Well, okay, we're gonna say that maybe we'll get it at the end of the show.
Oh, that's a good host.
We'll get it
that's a good host.
See. Gotta keep people around. Kendall's looking at all of your chat replies, comments. Obviously, things are going crazy with Austin's mustache already. But yeah, if you have any takes on the show, whether it's football or non-football, just make sure you get it in on the show, and Kendall's going to get it in there for us. Guys, let's get to some football. Let's get to some AFC playoff picture. Let's talk about some of the teams that are at the very. And we've got the New England Patriots sitting there at 9-5. Oh, wow. You know, it's about time that some good luck happened to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. I feel like it's been such a long time since we've seen them at the very top there. Obviously, heavy sarcasm. Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens, two teams right behind them, but reeling a bit. Chiefs coming up. Bills sitting there all the way down at number 7 at 7-5. Guys, when you look at that list there, that playoff picture for the AFC, what really stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, it's that Buffalo Bills at the bottom, the New England Patriots at the top. I think people were rushing a little bit to take too much from that ridiculous weather game that we knew going into it you weren't going to be able to take anything from. But the one thing you can take from it is that was like devastating to where Buffalo sits in the standings. Mm-hmm. They dropped all the way to that 7 seed. The Patriots are catapulted up to number 1. And unless Buffalo can manage to get that win back when they play in a couple of weeks, that was a real body blow to their season.
What do you guys think?
I think there's just a ton of flawed teams in this AFC playoff picture right now, especially guys at the top. I even crossed out with the pen that I lost on my notes here that the Titans not buying. Thank you. The Titans not buying them as deep playoff contenders. Ravens, I'm not even buying as deep playoff contenders with the injuries they've had in the secondary, how bad this passing attack has looked. But then you look at some of these other teams, Patriots at the top, Chiefs, Chargers. Those are the 3 teams with the Bills as that 4th team that I feel are deep postseason contenders. I'm not buying the Bengals either as a deep postseason contender. So I feel like there are 4 legit teams in this AFC that could actually go to the big dance. Outside of that, though, I mean, Titans are reeling with injuries. Ravens and Bengals have been up and down all season long.
Flawed seems like a tough word because it's not like they didn't earn the wins, but there's no doubt about it. They are not playing as well, especially I'm looking at Tennessee and with Baltimore. Those teams played well early in the season. Shoot, if the season ended today, I'm with you 100%. Even if I am one of those wild card teams sneaking in, I'm not that afraid of Baltimore.
I mean, I just don't think you see the Titans, the Ravens, the Bengals favored over a lot of these teams in the AFC playoff picture, right? Like, I think the Chiefs would be favored over all of them.
Right,
and with Patrick Mahomes even in this one, I think.
And that's the ridiculous part with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, we have seen him be the most mortal version of himself ever, by far. I feel like if you went to Chiefs fans before the season and you just made the point like, hey, you're going to be 8-4, your defense hasn't allowed, more than 17 points in like a month and a half. Like, would you take that going to the postseason? And I think it would be a resounding yes. I mean, if Mahomes can get back to what he's doing, I think we can make a similar point for Josh Allen. But this is still a very dangerous football team and a defense that, we were making complete jokes out of 4 or 5 weeks into the year.
Well, the Chiefs, as you mentioned them there, they're number one in our power rankings right now for the AFC. They're sitting there at number one. The Bills, that 7 seed, we still have them at number 2, ahead of the New England Patriots there at number 3. And we see Tennessee at 4, Ravens all the way down at 6. We got Cleveland sneaking in at 7. Colts, not in the playoff picture right now, but 5th in our AFC power ranking. What do we think about the Colts sitting there?
I think this is complete. I know it's the PFF numbers, but I mean, no Chargers on this list is ridiculous to me. I think the Chargers are one of 4 teams that can actually go deep in the postseason. I don't see the Colts as deep.
Eric sends us this list and bounces before we can tell
I know.
him.
Yeah, I wish Eric was here to debate this list.
You were sitting in the chair that normally can
I mean,
do
are you
something
taking
about
the Colts over any of these teams here? There are
The Browns.
Maybe the Browns, but like I don't know. I think the Chargers are not getting respect here.
The Chargers point, I think, is a little bit of a different one. But when you say, like, are you taking the Colts over any team that's in there? I mean, you go back to Baltimore, you go back to Tennessee. I mean, I might take Indianapolis over those reeling teams. But
okay.
I agree that I think that, the Chargers need some love. Do you guys agree?
Our Bengals, too. Like, come on, we're a Cincinnati company. We can't give some love to the freaking team from Cincinnati. But for real, though, I mean, I think you look at this and you kind of see Carson Wentz and Baker sticking out as the sore thumbs from the group. And, hey, both, to their credit, have performed at a high level at some points. But, man, oh, man, out of all these quarterbacks, I think I'd be least confident in trusting them when it actually comes down time to put down your money in that wild card round.
Teams not in the picture that we saw right there. Steelers, Raiders, Browns, Broncos, Dolphins, when it comes to the playoffs, not our power rankings, when it comes to the playoffs, those are the teams that are kind of on the outside looking in. Any of them real quick, just like, hey, this is absolutely going to be a playoff team. Or
I don't feel all that confident in any of those being absolutely a playoff team. I think if you had to highlight a team that maybe could push it, right? You have the Colts 5th in our power rankings, but not listed in there. You can see the Titans, the Ravens falling off due to injuries. I think they could sneak in. But again, like, I'm not buying Carson Wentz. I look at this stuff and it's like, okay, yeah. It's the same thing with like Renner trying to always get Notre Dame into the college football playoff. It's like, okay, you're trying to just get a bad team into the playoffs just to check that box.
Right,
but like,
right.
Can we talk about the teams that are actually going to try and win a Super Bowl? Like in our power rankings, Chiefs, Bills, Patriots, those 3 teams. Those 3 teams actually have a chance this season to go deep and potentially make a Super Bowl. I think the Chargers I'd throw in as a fringe 4th.
It does.
The thing, though, is the AFC, this is the AFC, right? So all of these teams are going to be playing each other. The fact that they're all massively flawed doesn't necessarily prohibit any one of them from going on a run. Like the Colts gave the Bucs everything they could handle a couple of weeks ago. The Colts are well capable of beating basically any team in the AFC. If they string together 1 or 2 of those games, they go from being that fringe playoff side to being in the AFC Championship game.
And it's a little bit, it feels like it's almost as if the AFC narrative is kind of flipped on its head, right? Because we went into the beginning of the year and we looked at all of these teams in the AFC and we said they could compete. Like we're 3 teams, 4 teams deep in some of these divisions, and now it's almost like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of teams still in the conversation, but as Austin was saying, maybe we don't believe in them a lot.
I mean, that's a lot of the 7-team playoff, right? And Eric, a big math guy, would speak to this too. But like a 7-team playoff, the bigger the playoffs are, the less it actually is a good at showing who the best team in the NFL is, right?
Yeah,
like when you add randomness, layers of randomness, more games, it's like the March Madness thing, right? Like you add layers of games, it's not always going to end up being the best team that wins. And I think with the 17 playoff, a Colts team could beat any team in the playoffs, but that would suck because the Colts aren't a top 3, top 4 team in the AFC. They're not. So like the any given Sunday stuff, I know is fun for rooting for the underdog, but I think if you actually want to talk about the good teams, it's the top 3.
Yeah, I agree. 32-team tournament, let the Jaguars in. See
exactly.
Let's just see what happens. Let's go over to the NFC. Let's flip sides. And when we look at the number 1 team, it's the Arizona Cardinals sitting there at 10-2, double-digit win team. We got the Packers and the Buccaneers right after them. This is the playoff picture. Cowboys at 4th. Rams, Washington football team. There you go, Sam. And the San Francisco 49ers happen to be the team there sitting in the 7th spot. It feels like we're juggling that every single week here in the NFC playoff picture. What stands out there? Actually, Sam, I'm just going to start with you. What stands out in that group?
Well, obviously, look, Washington back to 6-6. They're there. They're on the way.
They are indeed.
They are more likely than not to make the playoffs now, according to our numbers. It's happening.
This
is what I'm talking about.
The reason why I go to Sam isn't because Sam is a diehard Washington football team fan. It's because at the beginning of the year, his Dare I Say segment with Darius Butler, which we are going to expand later in the show, I'm excited about that, was that you said Washington would cruise to a division title. So the dream is still alive.
No,
Big
it's
game
not.
this week. The dream is still alive.
Washington playoff berth is still alive. Cruising to a division title is not alive.
It's a bumpy cruise.
That take is not alive.
You don't know what kind of cruise. Listen, listen, man, Taylor Heineke gave Tom Brady all he could handle last year in the playoffs.
Oh, my
He
God.
beat him this year.
He beat him this year. Could happen. You're a
Tom
hater.
Brady's
You're a hater.
kryptonite is Taylor Heineke.
You're a hater. That's
This
all
is, again, us rooting for bad football teams to go in the playoffs. That's fine. Like, we could do that, but I don't see the value.
I think the one thing that sticks out to this for me is the Packers at 9-3, second, and they haven't had Jair Alexander, Zadarius
Yeah, it's
Smith,
huge.
or David Bakhtiari. So I think the question is, like, how much better can they be with those guys? Because, in 2020, I think we were all well aware how good the Packers were. But 2019, when you looked at the point differential, some of the advanced analytics, a lot of us, I think, we're calling them pretenders over contenders. And when you look, again, at those things right now, you kind of can see those points again. Like the Eagles have a better point differential than the Packers this year, which was shocking to me when I saw that. So how much better can the Packers be when they get 3 All-Pros back? I would think a lot, but we need them to be a lot better.
No, I like the Packers a lot in the NFC, and I think I talked a lot about the AFC being 3 legit deep postseason contenders in the Chiefs, Bills, and Patriots, and then Chargers. I'm kind of considering a 4th. In the NFC, there's 5 legit contenders for a Super Bowl this year: Cardinals, Packers, Bucks, Cowboys, Rams. I think all 5 can go deep in the postseason. So I do think it's going to be a more eventful NFC. Whoever is the 6th and 7th seed, I think sayonara. But I do think that the top 5 teams right now are legit the top 5 teams in the NFC.
Well, just like the AFC, our power rankings for the AFC are a little bit different than the playoff picture. That's the same in the AFC. We've got the Buccaneers number 1 in our power rankings. That the Packers team that you guys are talking about, they're number 2. Cardinals, they're at number 3. We've got a tie at 4th between the 49ers and the Cowboys. Man, the Niners all the way up there. We're believing in them. Rams at 6. Saints at 7. Tied with the Washington football team. And so New Orleans, I mean, we didn't talk about them at all before, but in our power rankings, we've still got New Orleans. I got to think it's the Sean Payton effect, really, what gets them in there. What do you guys think about that power ranking?
That defense is too really good. I kind of agree a lot with the power ranking. I think the 49ers being tied for 4th is a bit rich, right? I know Jimmy Garoppolo has played really well down this, over the last few games, right? Yeah. But that defense is still paper, right? The defensive line is not good. They've been banged up with injuries. The secondary is not good. I think if they go against these juggernauts in the NFC, guys that can put up points, Cardinals, Packers, Cowboys, Bucks, they're not, in my opinion, ever going to be favored, even at home.
So down their starting corners today after all that, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the outs for the NFC, like we did with the AFC, Eagles, there you go, Ian. Vikings, Panthers, Falcons, Saints.
Can we rephrase that to Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins,
okay,
Cam Newton, I think,
maybe
Matt Ryan not playing well, and then
You might laugh at Jalen Hurts. That guy's a fan.
No, I think Jalen Hurts might be one of the better quarterbacks in that group, right? Okay. I mean, Kirk Cousins has graded really well this year, but
you said the wrong player for the Falcons.
Matt Ryan.
You said the wrong player for the Falcons.
Who's the right? Oh, Cordero Patterson.
Thank you.
You must be new here.
I do think that the bottom of the barrel in the NFC is not nearly as bad as the bottom of the barrel in the AFC, right? Like, I think the Steelers, no. Like, you're not betting on, like, the third or second lowest graded quarterback. Yeah. Raiders are reeling. Broncos are, like, in between quarterbacks. Might start Drew Lock here soon. The NFC, I do think the Eagles and the Vikings, there's actually some legit weight there. I think Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins have both played well this year. 14
weeks it took Big Ben to give us one game like that. Like, we don't hate any players. I want every single game to be fun. I hate when players are so bad that becomes unwatchable, which was that Steelers passing offense, weeks 1 through 13. But yeah, good job, Ben. You got 1 week down.
Hey, we don't hate players. We just hate how they play and everything about them and why they're still there and what they're doing to affect our lives negatively. Let's look at these Super Bowl odds because I want to get to some best bets here with you guys. So when we look at the current odds to win the Super Bowl, Buccaneers are at the top of that list. Chiefs not too far behind. Then we've got the Packers, Patriots, Cardinals at plus 800, Bills plus 1,000, Cowboys sitting there at plus 2,100 or 1,200. Sorry, 2,100 would actually be a fantastic bet there for the Cowboys. Rams, Ravens, Titans over 2,000 with their bet and their odds there. So let's have a little bit of fun here because last week on the show, what we did is we talked about who we thought was going to make it to the Super Bowl. Bets, odds aside, we were just saying, who's your Super Bowl pick? Now, I want to hear what the best bet is. When you guys look at that list and say, like, okay, well, if it's clear far and away the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay, put your money on the line, maybe make some cheddar that way. But is there a team maybe a little bit further that you say, okay, this number is too good for me to pass up? I'm curious, what's your best bet after we look at that Super Bowl list, Sam?
I think it's the Cardinals at plus 800. They are 5th in this list, and they have A, the best record. B, that means they've got the inside track for that number 1 seed, which will be huge for either conference. But also, like they have weathered some real setbacks. It's not like they've had this charmed existence where they've had to deal with nothing. They lost Kyler Murray, they lost DeAndre Hopkins for almost, a month of time, but 3 games, and they went 2-1 during that stretch. They were a dropped pass, A.J. Green not looking for the ball away from beating the Green Bay Packers, who were next up in the conference. They could easily be 11-1, and we would be talking about them, as comfortably the best team in the NFL. Kyler Murray's playing as well as any quarterback in the league. I think the only thing separating them from Tampa Bay, at number 1 is like history, is the fact that we didn't see it coming for Arizona, so we're not buying into it yet.
I mean, I think the biggest difference is Tom Brady, though, right? I mean, I think they also have a more complete
Murray
team.
playing as well as Tom Brady right now?
I think Tom Brady's playing better. Tom Brady's playing better than Kyler Murray has, and he has better defense.
Those are the 2 MVP potential guys. I mean, I know Brady deserves to be the favorite, but if Kyler comes out here on Monday night and really makes a claim, he could steal it.
Well, he was in that MVP conversation before he got hurt,
Right.
so
I think he's still going to be in that.
Right,
MVP
a full year of him.
But I think the Bucs have a more complete team. They're going to get healthier down the stretch. I think the Bucs are objectively better than the
I would agree with you there. I'm also agreeing with Sam here. I'm agreeing. I think the best bet is the Cardinals.
Agreeing with everybody.
For the reasons that Sam named, and also the fact that this team is 10-2, right? They have already won double-digit games. They have that buffer to maybe get that number 1 overall pick, and that's huge. They're getting Kyler Murray back. They're getting DeAndre Hopkins back. They're getting more healthy. They're playing well down the stretch, and they already have 10 wins. So if they have a pretty easy schedule left. They have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL left throughout the season. So if they get that 1 seed, all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's the best bet. You don't even have to play the first week and get home field advantage throughout. So I'm kind of seeing this as trying to see through Eric's eyes, if you will, and just kind of playing the numbers of if this team gets the number 1 overall pick, I think that they've got to be the best bet. But what do you guys think?
That's cute. I do have the best bet at the table.
Okay,
which is great to
appreciate
say.
him calling
Trevor
it cute
probably agrees.
for absolutely roast.
Cowboys plus 1,200. It's a team I picked in the Super Bowl last week, and I think the odds here are fantastic. All of these top NFC offenses, we have seen them play well enough to make a run. Tampa, Dallas, Arizona, the Rams earlier in the year, Packers, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. But what's going to separate them, I think it could be which team can, instill their will the most on defense. And with this Cowboys, a healthy DeMarcus Lawrence, healthy Parsons, healthy Randy Gregory, who's back this week, that pass rush could emerge as the most dominant force in the NFC that any defense has. So, Aaron Rodgers this year, our most sensitive quarterback in terms of yards per attempt drop-off, pressure, kept clean. Kyler, he's been pretty great at everything, but let's face it, the guy's short. Maybe when we have all these guys coming at him, cause a little problem. Tom Brady, I know the guy's the GOAT, but when we have seen him have some troubles over the year, it has been due to pressure.
You know what? I agree with that. I agree.
I actually was going to take Cowboys plus 1,200, but I wanted to add some diversity to these picks. So my pick is Packers plus 750. I think the Packers are the second best team in the NFL, or NFC, right behind the Bucs, ahead of the Cardinals. I like them at plus 750. They're third behind the Bucs and Chiefs. I think that's my favorite bet.
Well, it's going to be a shame when they don't win a playoff game to make my, dare I say, right?
Disagree.
That we'll get to. We're going to dig into plenty of that at the end of the show when we get Darius here on with us. Folks, reminder, Western Southern teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to get you ahead on both your financial and fantasy scoreboards. You can ask Chris all sorts of questions, maybe about his old playing days or some behind-the-scenes stories on Sunday Night Football, or maybe you want to ask some financial questions. Find out how you want to get to your financial goals. You can do both now, and every question that you ask, no matter what question it is, gets you a ticket to maybe win a catered event for the big game at the end of February. How you ask these questions? Go to westernsouthern.com/askchris. That's westernsouthern.com/askchris. All of the questions, football and non-football, will be answered on Chris Collinsworth's podcast, as well as Western and Southern's Instagram. Remember, guys, with Western and Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Massive game day in the AFC North between the Baltimore Ravens, the reeling Baltimore Ravens, and a team that's, their back's against the wall. Cleveland Browns. They got to pick up a win here. This has got to be a big week for them. This is a rematch of a game that happened just 2 weeks ago. Sam, I'm going to start with you in this one. This one's in Cleveland. It's the 8-4 Ravens, the 6-6 Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's favored by 2.5, so almost a field goal here. What do you think about that line? What do you think about this game?
And it's actually back-to-back Baltimore games for the
Browns, right?
Which is bizarre NFL scheduling.
Terrible.
I'm interested in this. I think the Browns are the pick here, and it's because not only is Lamar Jackson playing badly, and his grade has just tailed off over the course of the season, gone from high 80s all the way from 60, 50 into the 40s. It's been pretty miserable, but also he has been especially bad in certain situations that are repeatable if you're a defense. If you blitz Lamar Jackson, the wheels have been coming off him completely this season. Ranks 32nd out of 42 qualifying quarterbacks against the blitz with a PFF grade of 50. Obviously, Miami showed that you can do it in a safe way in terms of you're not going to expose yourself to him finding a rushing lane, taking off for 40 yards, and just a back-breaking play for your defense. You can keep him in the pocket and just give him nowhere to go with the football. So the Browns didn't have to blitz him much last game because both quarterbacks were just pitching the ball straight to defenders. But there's that blueprint now. Just go after Lamar, send the blitz. He's already faced the most six or more rusher blitzes in the NFL this season. I think if Cleveland dials that up, Lamar's in trouble.
Yeah, and even more numbers, I think, go towards strengthening that argument. Even if you just take it, not just blitzes, but just pressures in total, Lamar has not been good at all. He's got a 41.2 passing grade at PFF when he's been pressured. He's been sacked 37 times. That's the most of his career, and it's just clear that's the blueprint right now. I went back and I watched that first Browns and Ravens game, and it's like he's not seeing the field right now. Lamar is just not in rhythm. In rhythm, Lamar, one of the most unstoppable players in the NFL, no doubt about it. But right now it's a little bit of Greg Roman. I think that there's always little parts that you can blame because football is such a team game. But even when there is, an easy dump-off pass or something that could really get him out of trouble early, Lamar's just not seeing it. He's focused where he doesn't need to be focused. And, man, I don't know how else to explain it other because I've seen Lamar do it before. He's won an MVP, right? He knows what to do. He's in a funk. He's in a funk right now. So Cleveland, I think, is the pick here.
Out of rhythm Lamar is still dangerous, right?
Sure,
out of rhythm Lamar, even with the 37 sacks he's taken this year and all the passing grade stuff under pressure, there are times where you blitz him and you miss and you're screwed, right? Like you have no one on the back end. He breaks off these long runs, but I think teams now, before we're playing contain rush, they would tell edge rushers not to do inside moves. They would say, hey, we are just not letting him break contain and keeping him in structure. And then Lamar has progressed as a passer in structure and has progressed as a pocket passer and all these things. Now it's like, screw it. Like, let's throw everything at him. And if he does break off this long run because we don't get home with the blitz, it's fine. Like, we'll give up some of those big plays. But more often than not, because they're sending defensive backs a ton too, right? These blitzes are not just linebackers. They're sending defensive backs that can actually chase and get to a Lamar. I think this is, I hate saying blueprint, right? Like, no one solved Lamar Jackson. There's no blueprint, but this is working. Yeah. This is working right now. And the Ravens' offensive line is nowhere near as good as it was, and that's really struggling. They're injured today. I do think that this is working right now because of a lot of things are hitting their stride. Injuries at receiver, injuries along the offensive line, defense also injured too. Like, this is just not a good situation to find something that is working with Lamar.
It is working to stop Lamar as a passer, and also anything defenses do to stop Baker Mayfield as a passer has been working throughout this year. But like, we say all this and we compare Lamar to all these quarterbacks as passers, and we almost just leave out the fact that this dude entered the week as the NFL's 8th leading rusher. Like, we were just numb to the fact that this dude is one of the best rushers in the NFL. Like, it's a pretty good floor that even when you're not doing well as a passer, you can still do the things that he does as a rusher. And it really is unlike anything we've ever seen before. I'm not here to take shots at Mike Vick, him being the best rushing quarterback or whatever, but the pure volume from Lamar truly is ridiculous. And if you just look at it, the all-time single-season rush attempt records, we got Jalen Hartitz potentially joining the party this year, but otherwise, it is Lamar 1, 2, 4, and 5. Hopefully this thing can keep up throughout his career. He's already taking a lot of hits, but again, even when the passing game isn't going right, you still got to deal with Lamar Jackson running the ball.
Yeah, but I think teams will take that, right? I think teams are taking that because they know that running quarterbacks and running overall is more ineffective. From a fantasy perspective, this is awesome. Like, 190 freaking attempts, that's insane. On pace for that is absurd. But I think teams are like, go ahead. Like, if we run this like jailbreak blitz and you get out of it and you bust off a 30-yarder, like, let's go. But like, we are going to consistently do it because we're going to limit you as a passer.
Most of these are designed runs. Like, they are part of the run game. It's not that he is breaking off these big runs against pressure or against the blitz anymore, particularly like Miami showed. If you send 6 guys, you have taken away all the rushing lanes. If people stay in their rushing lane, Lamar has nowhere to go.
Disciplined blitzing,
Yep.
Well, how are the Browns going to score? All I'm hearing is that Lamar isn't going to do his thing. Before the Browns bye week,
they got rid of OBJ. Didn't you hear?
14 or fewer points in 6 or more games. That's more than the Urban Meyer-led Jacksonville Jaguars, people. Yeah. You do not want to be a worse offense than the Jaguars.
I don't think both these teams. I think both these teams aren't playing well, right? Like, both these teams have struggled. Browns, though, coming off a bye, and I do think they're a little bit healthier. Like, you have to expect Baker Mayfield. I know he's been hurt like all year, but like, I hope that he's healthier, right? He's healthier than he was before the bye. 77% of the cash bet on this game, I think more than 77% now, is on Cleveland -2.5. And I think I am backing America. I am in on the Browns winning this one.
America.
I'm backing America.
That sounded like you were like running for office.
I'm backing America. Cleveland at home, -2.5. That's how I feel. But I do think that this is not a boat racing, right? Like, I don't think Cleveland goes in and puts up 40. I do think that they win this game by more than 2.5, and maybe it is like a 2017 game, right? Like, I think that's what it could be.
Doesn't Odell have more touchdowns?
For those counting at home, Beckham leaves, Baker throws a bomb to Donovan Peoples-Jones, like, we're back, second half of 2020. That was Baker's only touchdown to a wide receiver since they got rid of Beckham. Beckham has 2 touchdowns, so just counting numbers, guys.
Was trading Odell the right thing to do?
I think so. I think so. I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think getting rid of Odell is the right thing to do based off like the stuff you hear about like the off-field and like their relationship and all that stuff. Is he a good football player? Would you have rather have it work out? Absolutely.
Just a quick side note, like I want a different category of off-the-field problems for knucklehead stuff, and then like being a true piece of shit stuff.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't trying to. Yeah,
I know you weren't.
I don't even think they were off-the-field issues, right? It was off-the-field disagreements.
Yeah, he just wasn't.
I wouldn't even say OBJ was an off-the-field problem.
I'm not saying you're saying that, but once we get into like the draft season, it's going to be like off-the-field problem. That could mean one of 20 different
no,
things.
for sure. I meant more that there were disagreements off the field between the two of them, right? I think some of that is Baker and some of that is OBJ.
A game that I think could be game of the week this week. Bills-Bucks. We got to talk about Bills-Bucks. This one's in Tampa, and this game is huge for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, for the Bills, they've got to stay in the playoff hunt, which is crazy. This is a team that a lot of people talked about potentially winning the division. Potentially being a Super Bowl pick for the AFC. Bucks, it's kind of business as usual for them. But the Bucks are in an interesting situation here because they're at home. They've got an extremely easy schedule after this. And if they win this game, they're almost, to steal a word from Sam here, cruising to a position where they could win their division and maybe even the number 1 seed. When we look at some of the playoff percentages that we have right there between the Bills and the Bucks, I think the Bucks are going to be motivated because they've got the 1 seed on the line, and I think the Bills are going to be motivated because obviously they've got to come off of last week's game. Say whatever you want about the weather, the Bills need a dub, and this is a tough place to go get a win. Sam, what do you think about this matchup here?
Yeah, this is great. I didn't realize that my point was going to annoy Austin, but that adds spice to it. There is a blueprint to beating the Buffalo Bills.
There it is. That's
on
the word.
both sides of the ball.
That's the word.
2 blueprints, one on either side.
Double bloop.
And they've shown
blue
in the last few weeks that if they run up against a physically dominant team, they wilt. They just cave. The New England Patriots were able to run the ball all game on them despite literally no threat of the passing game. 3 pass attempts from Mac Jones, and it felt like one of those was like a mistake. And then the Indianapolis Colts did the same thing to them. So they've had a couple of games now where they've been absolutely controlled by a dominant physical team, and I think the Bucs can do that. The question is, will they? Like their game plan last week against Atlanta was almost the polar opposite of what the New England Patriots did. They passed basically every single pass play. Do they look at Buffalo and say, well, that's the way to beat them, we should definitely pivot and adopt that game plan? Or do they just say, no, look, we're a better team than Buffalo, we're going to run our game plan and expect that to win? And similarly, on the other side of the ball, if you play a conservative, patient type of defense, force Josh Allen underneath, that's where he gets frustrated and makes those mistakes. So I think there's a very clear game plan for Tampa Bay on either side. The only question is whether they actually roll with it.
That last point seems to be the major key, though. You need to make Josh Allen not be a world beater, which no one could really do in the year 2020. So it has been such a roller coaster for Josh. And it really was during the first 2 years of his career. And now we're seeing it in 2021. In week 1, he was PFF's 16th highest graded passer. Since then, he's either been top 10 or outside the top 20. So I look at the Patriots game, and yeah, they won. They ran for 230, 40 yards, whatever it was. Josh Allen threw that one back shoulder to Diggs out of bounds. Like, if he catches that, all of a sudden we might be talking about the Bills finding a way to win that game. So for the Bills to have the championship and to achieve their goals, they need Josh Allen to be the best version of himself. And I think the rest of it is really a moot point.
I think the ball bounces a couple of different ways for the Bills this season, and their record's probably not as bad as you think. Now, the Steelers game at the beginning of the year, don't really get that one. The Jaguars game, obviously, that's stupid.
The Bills are better than their record.
Way better. And that's kind of what I'm saying is, but the problem, it's...
No,
The problem is that I think everybody would say that they're better than the record, but the record is what it is. Like, they have to win. Their back is getting close to against the wall. They're very close to a 500 football team now.
But I think we're also, like, they are built. They constructed a team to beat Kansas City in the AFC
And they
Championship
did it.
game. Well, all of a sudden,
Before the AFC Championship game part.
all of a sudden, every team that stands between them and that game are built in a way that they're not built to beat. It's the Patriots, it's the Colts, it seems like Tampa Bay, teams that can physically overwhelm them. And if they haven't figured out how to beat those games, they'll never make it to the AFC Championship game to face Kansas City.
I think the Bills
Neither might Kansas City.
I think the Bills are better than their record. I do think they lose this game, though. I like the Bucks. I like the Bucks -3. This line, I think, opened up at -3. It's now out to 3.5. You get the hook. I still like the Bucks with the hook. This is the number one defense. The Buffalo Bills have the number one defense in EPA per play allowed. Number one against the run and number one against the pass. They are a top-flight defense. However, I think Tampa Bay can roll, right? They're top 5 in efficiency, both running the football, which no one really talks about, right?
Yeah.
Everyone talks about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette and that rushing attack and that offensive line is top 5 in efficiency, as is this passing attack. This opened at 3. Better quarterback at home, only getting 3. I would have smashed that. Now at 3.5, I think you could consider some other things, but I like 3.5. I think the sneaky bet, though, this total gets all the way out to 54. I think it's a sneaky under game. Both these defenses are very good. Maybe Tampa Bay does adopt this game plan to run the football, which will remove some of this point efficiency. I could see this getting under the 54 too.
I'm with Austin here taking the Bucks because, credit to the Bills defense. They've been great. Even if you can limit Brady in some of these big plays, though, it doesn't matter. He goes down the field, and once he gets inside the 20-yard line, it's game over. Including playoffs, since he's joined Tampa Bay, Tom Brady has 60 red zone passing touchdowns. 0 interceptions.
Holy cow.
Sheesh.
That's insane.
That is a sheesh alert, if I have ever heard one. Oh, my gosh. That's a big one. No, and just to one last point, you mentioned how Tampa can be a little bit balanced here and how Tampa is efficient on offense. They're very comfortable with running the football the way they do. And the offensive line has been very dominant this year. And unless Buffalo's defensive line really shows up, like really just kind of changes their tune and shows up, Bucks are just going to almost impose their will. They're going to stay relatively balanced. It's probably going to be a 60-40 run-pass split, but the Bills can't stop them in either category, then it might be a long day, even for a team that I still think is
Sam,
really
you have to admit, the Bills dropped to 7-6 after losing to the Super Bowl favorite. Like they're better than their record. Like 7-6 would be absurd. Like they're a better team. They're a better team than what their record will be.
Admit it, Sam.
Admit it.
To be clear, are they better than their record? Or?
I think they're better than their record.
Okay.
Would you agree?
No.
Final point. Don't look now. Tampa Bay's cornerback room getting healthy. Sherman's back.
Don't look now. I've been saying this on his desk for weeks.
Okay, look now.
And on the flip side, Buffalo lost their only good corner.
I think Tampa Bay's better than their record.
Folks, Pristine Auction. It's your go-to place for signed sports memorabilia. We're going to get into some more game previews, but I had to tell you about this because this is a place where you can get a ton of steals when it comes to autographed stuff. Whether you're searching for a certain team, a certain player, whatever it is, Pristine Auction's got you. The best part, it's all in the name. It's an auction style. These items all start at $1 bids, which means you have a chance to really get a serious steal on some of these items. Use the promo code PFF and you're going to get $10 off whatever the first auction is that you win, which does not have to necessarily mean it's the first one that you bet on. You can bet on plenty, and it's just whatever the first one that you win, you're going to get $10 off. Use the promo code PFF, Pristine Auction. That's your go-to place for signed sports memorabilia. Well, guys, the college football season, regular season, is over. So I figured what a great way to usher in kind of this next chapter of blending college football and the NFL. They're going to run through a brand new mock draft. So we're going to use PFF's mock draft simulator. We've done this before here on this show, and we're going to give you guys a brand new top 5 mock draft as the order stands today. So obviously there's a lot of things that could go on today that might change the top of the order, but as it stands right now, we got the Detroit Lions at number 1, Jacksonville Jaguars at number 2. We have the Houston Texans at 3, New York Jets at 4, and oh, look at that, the New York Jets also at number 5 because of the Jamal Adams trade. So good for you, New York Jets. We're going to give you a double dip here. Guys, I love this tool. I love the mock draft machine. I spend endless hours working on
How I view the mock draft simulator, at PFF is very much that meme from That's Always Sunny where it's the guy up in the whatever. It's like every single fan wants to do this. Every single fan wants to get in there and be like, dude, you give me those Jets picks, I'll turn this team around. We'll fire Saleh. Like you get on this whole thing of like ownership over your fan base. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And I will say, speak to the settings a little bit on the right there. I think going maximum speed, as you could tell, is always the way to go. These are the PFF recommended settings. So speed is definitely how fast the simulator runs. No one has time to wait for loading screens. Care for positional value will determine what the other teams are picking, right? So if you go all the way to the left, they don't care about positional value. They're taking the best player regardless. You go all the way to the right, quarterbacks are valued more. Tackles are valued more. All the premium positions, right? Randomness adds a layer of randomness, right? Like everyone with the draft doesn't know what's going to happen. So this will determine how much does the mock draft simulator pick based off of consensus rankings and PFF rankings, or how much does it just go off the wall and go full Dave Gettleman with it. And then draft for needs is for the teams, obviously, that you aren't drafting for, are they specifically, say the Jets need a corner. You go maximum right there, the Jets are only going to draft corners in the first round. You go maximum left, they're going to draft whatever position they feel is best.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's kick it off. Let's start this draft here. We've got the Detroit Lions still sitting at number 1. I'm not so sure they're going to be picking number 1 at the end of the season. I think a couple of teams around them. I think Jacksonville. I think Houston. They're trending down a lot more than I think the Detroit Lions are. So with them getting their first win, I think that it's no guarantee that they're going to be sitting there at number 1. But they are here in this mock draft. So let's take a look at the analysis tab here for the Detroit Lions. This is one of my favorite parts of this mock draft simulator that we have at PFF. We give you a lot of different information. So what you see on the screen there, it'll tell you what positions are drafted the most for people who are selecting for the Lions. So it's not just the computer, it's for those human selections. Edge rusher, far and away number 1.
63%, right? I mean, that's a lot of that too, though, is based off the rankings, right?
Correct.
Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are top of PFF's rankings. You're picking number 1 overall. Not a lot of Detroit Lions fans right now are going off the wall here and going to be like, you know what, I need Derek Stingley or I need a quarterback, whoever it may be. So I do think you're going to often see Lions drafters taking an edge.
And you see right above that, the players selected, you could see the percentages. Aiden Hutchinson, I believe that's 36, 38. I can't exactly see because it's too far away. But we've got Kayvon Thibodeau's right behind him, and that makes up that massive edge percentage there with those two guys. But we've also got some Garrett Wilson selections. I think that's literally solely Ian getting on the machine and manipulating that to get an Ohio State guy number 1 overall. Matt Corral, Kyle Hamilton also right there. I just think that's really cool. We're going to highlight that for every pick because I love that feature of our mock draft simulator.
So before we make our pick, let's go ahead and click into Aiden Hutchinson here. If you click the Show More tab, you can actually even take it a step further and hit Show Draft.
Look at his grade this season.
Grade this year is absurd. He's probably going to break the PFF record. But then you look at his grade improving over the course of his career at Michigan, and look at some of these stable stats as well. This is what's awesome. Pass rush grade, run defense grade, and true pass set grade. That takes out play action, RPOs, screens, these different things. Those are stable metrics in PFF system. Eric Eager, I'm stepping in for. Dr. Eric Eager has done so much work to look at what data does PFF look at and track that actually translates to success in the NFL. That's what a lot of those stats are. Aiden Hutchinson, best player in the NFL draft, as evidenced by a lot of the data you'll see, and he's going to blow up the combine as well.
Let's talk about a different school player.
There is so much information through this Show More tab. And it's not just Aiden Hutchinson, it's literally every prospect that you could pick.
And I love the average draft position stuff too, right? Like you're able to see like over the course of, since July or whatever,
which is really cool to see for Hutchinson.
Exactly.
Because he was, as you could see, like a lot lower, and then all of a sudden, basically season started and we went, I
think there was like a certain game, right, Ian, where like he had like a big one, and that's kind of what elevated his status.
Are we making picks or not?
Let's take Hutchinson.
Let's make the pick here. Let's take Aiden Hutchinson, number 1 overall. That was what happened in our
Sam's opinion on the matter.
Draft. Sam, what do you think?
Well, the other thing to note is that, look, the reason that it's edge rusher, it's all those, there's no quarterback.
Yeah.
If you're Detroit and you were hoping that this was the year you get your franchise quarterback because Jared Goff isn't it.
Stinks.
It's not happening in the first round.
Yeah.
2023 is where I think a lot of teams are going to be looking for quarterback, right? Especially teams that are drafting towards the top because they're going to get edge, they're going to get tackle. There's a lot of talented defensive backs, Kyle Hamilton, Derek Stingley. I think these teams like Detroit, Houston, those teams are, even New York Giants, that's 5, 6 or 7. I think they're not going to be looking at quarterback necessarily, potentially look to trade down and look ahead to 2023, maybe Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, DJ Uiagalelei if he pans out. That's where people are looking.
Where are these Buckeye receivers going? Because you guys all told me all offseason how the Bengals should draft Jamar Chase over a tackle because points win football games, not blocks, not sacks. Maybe those weren't the exact words, but seriously, when's the first wide receiver going to go here? Because yeah, homerism aside, we got some ballers coming out of Ohio State that I don't think should be lasting that long.
I do think I am different to a lot of the national opinion on the receiver class in 2022. I think there are a lot of talented receivers: Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks. I'm not all that confident that any of them go in the top 10.
Wow.
Borderline, I don't know if anyone will go in the top 12, top 15. I don't think they're that tier, right? I don't think Jameson Williams might go number one, like top 5, just because he runs really fast, and you've seen the NFL fall for that before. But, I think Garrett Wilson's going to come in smaller than people expect. Drake London's going to run slower than people expect. And eventually you're going to see that these receivers actually fall into this 12 to 18 range, and none of them are this Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith level tier. And I think Jamar Chase was held over offensive tackle like Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater because he was that tier, and we felt that he was a blue chip player.
That's why I love this tool, though. I can ignore all those things he just said.
Well, you might be able to here because one of the position needs for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are on the clock here at number 2, is, look, wide receiver, there he is, Garrett Wilson. That's one of the last players that we have there. But when it comes to most drafted positions for the Jacksonville Jaguars, offensive tackle, it's huge. Obviously protecting the asset in Trevor Lawrence. They're not looking for a quarterback. They've just got to strengthen the team around him. Edge rusher, premium position. We got wide receiver. We got quarter. Well, we cannot put head coach, but if we could, we would. Evan Neal is the most drafted player here. That's the offensive tackle from Alabama. And then it's Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. If those guys are on the board, I think you got to certainly consider them, even with the offensive line needs. Austin, who are we taking here for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I think any team picking at 1 and 2, it's going to be mocked. Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, vice versa. I think the edge defenders are really what run this class.
Okay.
It's a very talented edge class at the top and even deeper into the class. I think if you take Evan Neal here, I'm not going to be upset with you. Evan Neal, I think, could, with the combine, enter this blue chip, rare air.
He's going to
get comps like Mekhi Becton, right? And Tristan Wirfs, this legitimate freak of an athlete, crazy size. I think Evan Neal could go here. But honestly, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, until I don't think I'm changing that for a while.
He's got to do. Evan Neal's got to do the jump out of the pool thing that Tristan Wirfs did, which is just
he did that box jump thing. You saw the split jump that Evan Neal did. That thing's nasty.
Worries me every time I watch it, just because I tear my groin and I'm like $165, and he's like 325.
Evan Neal's going to break some records in Indy.
Yeah, sure. That's why I'm not going to be the future offensive tackle for that.
Let's take Thibodeau.
Yeah. That's it though. That's just that. We're taking Thibodeau at number 2. Number 3, Houston Texans. Absolute mess.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of some other words, but absolute mess is the only way that we can handle it right now. When we look at who Houston Texans fans are taking for their team, edge rusher, overwhelmingly, right there, above 40%. We've got QB next, corner. Some of the guys, we've got Kayvon Thibodeau, we've got Aiden Hutchinson. Those guys are not on the board anymore. So after that, Matt Corral's the next most commonly drafted player to them. We've got Derek Stingley, the corner from LSU, Kyle Hamilton, the safety from Notre Dame. This is where things get interesting because of Sam's point. This is, if this was a quarterback kind of a draft, we're not even having second thoughts. We're not even looking at other positions because of what Houston needs so badly. But is their quarterback need desperate enough to where you're taking one at number 3?
I don't think so.
I believer right here.
I'm a Ty God believer, but also at the same time, this roster is years away from being competent enough to even support a rookie quarterback. I wouldn't want to put one in that situation. If we can, let's look at our trade offers here. It looks like we have 2. We clicked into that. Right. I think this is a trade down spot, right? I think a trade down spot for Houston here because this roster is legitimately a fire sale, right? I mean, there's not a lot of building blocks in Houston right now. Potentially looking at it as a trade down spot. I don't want to ruin the rundown we have here on the live show, but maybe getting in with this Vikings pick here, taking down the Kansas City Chiefs twig. But let's go and draft a player though. I don't want to entertain these offers. I don't trust Minnesota.
What quarterback could rise up when we start hearing the reports in March about he knocked out the interviews and everyone thinks that?
I think teams are going to love Kenny Pickett.
Let's go Pickett here.
He's going to the senior.
Fake slide.
Yes. I mean, he quite literally changed the game. He is a game-changing quarterback, and I'm just going to continue to say that from now on.
So Pickett will be a great one to look at this average draft position for, right?
Yeah,
so not a lot of people even considering him in the top half of the draft until looks like 11-20 there, November 20th. Then he starts to jump into the top 10. Yeah. I like Pickett here. Let's do it. I like where Hartitz is. Let Hartitz have an influence.
Give it to him. We talk enough crap about Ohio State here on the show. Let's give him Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett obviously was at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, finished 3rd in the voting. He's had an unbelievable year. He's going to the Senior Bowl, and so he's going to be able to get his game in front of NFL coaches and GMs and meet them and all that. And I do think that there's a strong chance that Kenny Pickett's QB1 by the time this cycle ends. So now we got back-to-back picks for the New York Jets. So the analysis is going to be pretty much the same here when we look at positions that we have seen most drafted to. The Jets, it's edge rusher, it's corner, it's tackle, it's premium positions, it's defense. That's something that they need. They're still hoping that Zach Wilson is, of course, their guy who improves year to year, a lot after this year for sure. Derek Stingley, number 1 drafted player. Even over Kayvon Thibodeau, even over Aiden Hutchinson, we got Derek Stingley, the corner from LSU. He's still on the board. Do you think that's going to be the pick here?
I think so. I think they'll consider defensive back and they'll consider offensive line here if they're picking at 4 and 5. I think it would be one of Hamilton or Stingley and then potentially adding Neal as the offensive tackle. However, there was a joke this offseason, a running joke, a try joke, like the kneecaps joke for Dan Campbell. Name a Jets defensive back or name a Jets cornerback. No one can. No one knows.
Bryce Hall.
Let's take Hamilton.
Javelin Guidry.
Let's take Hamilton. Let's take Hamilton and Stingley. Let's freaking let's just change the secondary. Give Salah some talent on the back end.
Okay.
Yes, you're like punting a little bit on offensive line, but they have Elijah Vera-Tucker. They have Mekhi Becton. Go add some veteran talent along that offensive line. Yeah, I know they could have a lot of things. You don't want to be all that young along that offensive line anyway. Go get some veteran talent that actually is going to play well in year 1, year 2 to help Zach Wilson.
All right.
So their line's kind of fine.
Yeah, and I don't think their line's all that bad either. No, I agree. If Mekhi Becton comes
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go back to back here. Let's take Derek Stingley at number 4, and then we'll take Kyle Hamilton at number 5.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Obviously,
obviously, Derek Stingley had that phenomenal true freshman season at LSU, which, yeah, he didn't play as well after that, but that's because basically the entire team left after that year, and then he suffered some injuries this year. But this is still an extremely talented player. And then Kyle Hamilton, I mean, he's just one of the most versatile players in the entire draft.
I think we got to take Olave for the Lions here. Lions have another pick.
We do. The Lions have another pick here.
He's right there. I wouldn't take London. Let's go Olave.
Right there.
Are we keeping the Ohio State end of the draft tradition alive? This is what happened last time.
Hey man, the guy's got the most receiving touchdowns in Ohio State history. Seems pretty good.
Okay.
Look at that.
All right. I'm just a guy.
I
do think back end of the first round, early second round is probably where Olave is going to end up going. So here we go, 24. Let's give him a receiver.
How fast do you think he could run?
I think so. Apparently, Olave's faster. I was talking to some of the Ohio State defensive backs last year in last year's class, like Sean Wade and these other guys, and they're like, Chris Olave's faster in a straight line.
Just remember, like all you draft analysts, if you don't say smooth at least 10 times in his prospect report, like you're not doing your job.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
We can see the draft grades that we have here. After
D+ for Pickett? Come on.
After you get done. Yeah, wait. PFF here. Has a quarterback selection to D+.
I'm upset.
Is that an A+? I really can't see.
It is an A+ for Chris Olave. So you see exactly what the grades are for each individual pick. And also if you scroll down, you can see like total team haul. So obviously if you're doing multiple rounds and things like that, it'll spit out a grade for you.
So the best grade was the Ohio State wide receiver.
Yeah.
The best grade was, in fact, yes, the Ohio State wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So next time you have venom in your voice when you say you draft analysts, you can just look in the mirror and you can just say that to yourself.
Did you go to Ohio State?
Born and raised in Columbus. Did you go to Michigan or were you San Diego?
I believe blue. There is a San Diego State edge defender in this class that could go in the first round. His name's Cameron Thomas. Do your freaking research. Okay. And we have a punter that might go in the second if Raiders are drafting high.
Sam's about to walk off the show just from a ridiculous. Let's get back to some of these previews
comment
here.
on my hair? Give me another close-up on my hair.
We've got nobody needs more close-ups on your facial hair,
this is
on
a
your hair, whatever.
disaster.
Nobody needs that.
I look like a freaking young Albert Einstein.
You're on camera. Comb it over. Just comb it over.
This
Get a
is
look.
so
There we
bad.
go. Okay. Niners, Bengals. Speaking of Cincinnati, speaking of where we're from, what do you think about this game here? This is, I think, a very interesting game for playoff implications on both sides of the conference.
Can I start? You always go to Sam for seniority. Can I start?
No.
Oh?
You're not allowed.
Go ahead, then go.
What have you got to say?
Wow.
This is a narrow spread, right? I think it was a half point for most of the week. I'm not sure where it is currently. Is it still at a half point?
No, point and a half.
Not Eric is even prepared to talk.
Point and a half. A point and a half in favor of the Bengals. Bengals at home. This is, if I had like a toy dump truck, I'd break it out like a Lee Corso mascot head and say, this is my dump truck of the week. I think the 49ers come to Cincinnati and blow them out. I think this is going to be an absolute disaster for
Niners
Cincinnati.
are favored, by the way. I don't think.
Or Niners are favored now.
Yes.
So Bengals were originally favored by half point, and now you see the money swinging in favor of my dump truck pick of the San Francisco 49ers coming in. Here are the reasons why. Cincinnati, in my opinion, does have the better quarterback. I think Joe Burrow has played better, and they're at home. The problem is on the sideline. They rank 27th in passing rate on early downs. They run the football to an oblivion, and they're going to go into this game banged up to all hell. They got Joe Mixon, who's questionable with an injury. They also have in the secondary, I think, Chidobe Awuzie, who's battling an injury. Like, this is going to be a very tough situation for the Cincinnati Bengals. Even Joe Burrow's hurt, right? I think Joe Burrow's going to play in this game, but you have a lot of injuries in this game that I do think are going to affect the Cincinnati Bengals. And San Francisco is going to play a brand of football that I don't think the Cincinnati defense is equipped to compete with, right? Their passing defense ranks 6th in EPA per play allowed, but their run defense ranks 16th. I think San Francisco comes in, plays a physical dogfight type of brand of football that Cincinnati's not ready for. And instead of throwing the ball in early downs and taking advantage of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and this passing attack that's good, they're going to run the ball at the 5th highest rate in the NFL in early downs, and they're going to run their way into a big loss.
Joe Burrow's got a sore pinky. He's fine. As long as he doesn't have to drink afternoon tea.
Pinky on his throwing hand. It's on his throwing hand. Have you ever tried to throw a football with a sore pinky?
Yeah, I think he'd be okay, given what we saw last week.
My pinky's a little sore.
The narrative is interesting, though, because Burrow now leads the NFL in interceptions. And there's some people out there that kind of go, oh, is Joe Burrow playing? Joe Burrow is up to 3rd in the PFF grading right now. His turnover-worthy play rate is actually like bang in the middle of the pack. He's slightly above Aaron Rodgers, who has 4 interceptions and is one of the most kind of careful quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of putting the ball in harm's way. I think not just Joe Burrow is playing better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's a much better quarterback than Jimmy G at this point. I agree. Like, the 49ers, for once, are the healthier team of the two. And Jimmy G has got a really good situation there in terms of offensive playmakers and obviously Kyle Shanahan as well. But the gap between him and Joe Burrow, I think, is significant. And if Burrow's interception luck, if his turnover luck just swings back a little bit, like the dime that he throws to Jamar Chase ends up in his hands as opposed to the guy's hands who's chasing him, then I think they're in good shape.
And that's why I love our metric, turnover-worthy plays, to help account for times when Jamar Chase should be going to the end zone.
Drops a touchdown.
Instead, the ball is going else. And don't look now, guys. You know, we joked about all the all the drops that Chase had in the preseason. We have seen those really start to rear its head throughout the year. He's still been a top producer, an amazing rookie year. But just based on the average target depth that he's had on these drops, nobody has lost more receiving yards than Jamar Chase this year. 120 of them on drops, and no one else is even over 100. So, best version of the Bengals offense. They need Chase to start playing like the guy that was there in the first half.
I like Cincinnati in this one. I really do. I know the score didn't look pretty last week when it was Burrow versus Herbert, but they gave up those 24 points early on. They stormed back. They were close. It was 24-22, and then it's just they had the fumble. They returned for the touchdown, and then all momentum was kind of gone after that. You had the Burrow injury and kind of everything
Burrow
unraveled.
threw that terrible red zone interception. I mean, that was a big one too.
You got to spend money to make money.
I think a lot of that comeback too was Austin Eckler, who got bailed out by them winning that game, fumbled twice. That really catapulted the Cincinnati Bengals into that one for sure.
Yeah. Austin's point about this 49ers offense, though, I mean, when they have all their playmakers, they really are, a force to be reckoned with. Deebo Samuel, it's, still questionable, but it sounds like he will be out there. Brandon Ayuk out of the Shanahan doghouse. That's been great to see. And look at George Kittle. Like, he's so good at blocking. I understand when they, don't necessarily throw him the ball 10, 15 times per game. But just looking at the most efficient receivers on a per route basis over the past 2 years, you got Devontae Adams, #1, then Deebo Samuel, then Justin Jefferson tied with George Kittle. So truly two of the game's most efficient receivers over the past 2 seasons. Both reside in San Francisco. You got that run game too. I'm happy I don't have to figure out how to slow down that offense.
And Jimmy Garoppolo, since week 5, I believe, is like the #2 graded passer at PFF. He's graded really, really well down the stretch. I think this offense is humming.
Obviously, they don't ask him to do a ton, but it's kind of what we talked about on this desk a couple of weeks ago. It's like,
they don't ask me to do a ton.
When the Niners, they're obviously going to run the ball, and that's going to be the focal point of their offense. But then, they will need a couple of good passes, and Jimmy Garoppolo has been good when his name has been called, even though it's not as much as some other quarterbacks. So, okay, Austin, you mentioned decisions on the sideline impacting this game. I want to talk about some coach hot seat, right? Because this is a big topic around this time of year. There's 1 month left in the regular season. A lot of teams are either gearing up for playoff runs or they're taking a good hard look in the mirror, something like that. So I want to play a little bit of a this or that game with you guys. Believe in or release in the head coach edition. So it's kind of a different way to say, okay, is this guy on the hot seat? But it's rather, I want to hear, would you guys be believing in these guys to give them a little bit more time, give them a year or two more, or are you kind of out on it? I'm going to start with Zach Taylor because Austin brought it up there. It's a big game, I think, this week with the Bengals. He's got to kind of prove himself in a game that he should be able to win at home, even though it's going to be a tight one. What do you guys think about Zach Taylor? We believe in or releasing him?
Release him.
No, I don't. You can't release them, right? I mean, they're in playoff contention. They might win a handful of. They're going to have a winning record this season. And I think I want an in between of believing or releasing, right? I want like waiting. They're going to wait to live the locker.
Play a different game.
Then you're still playing different game.
In the either or game, you want something different.
I'm not believing though. That's the thing. But I'm also not releasing. I'm sitting on a fence.
That's the point.
Okay, so you're just saying that you want to like. Zach Taylor has earned another year. Do I hear you right? Is that what we're saying?
Can we get Eric back on the phone? Or can we just dial him in?
What the hell is this? I think Zach Taylor has done a lot.
Eric's big hot take at the beginning of the year was the Jets will be competitive. Don't get Eric on the phone.
Zach Taylor has done a lot to build up a culture in Cincinnati, and from the people I've talked to who've been in that locker room say that he is a player's coach, and a lot of players believe in him.
Okay,
right?
then
buy-in.
Then you give him another year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Buy-in as a head coach is so important, and he has that, right? No one's fading Zach Taylor. The problem is that this play calling and their play tendencies to not throw the football as often as they should is the issue. Now, if Zach Taylor can get fitted with an offensive coordinator, maybe Joe Brady comes back to pair up with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that would be massive because Joe Brady wants to throw the football because he wants to enter the year 2020.
I thought Taylor was supposed to be the offensive mastermind.
Well, Zach Taylor was supposed to be the offensive mastermind just because he met Sean McVay, but that's obviously not panned out, and he is not. By any measure.
I was in the same room with Sean.
Leveraging, the obvious.
Thank you, yes.
He has a top 5 graded passer, and they throw the ball at the third lowest rate. I mean, this is a disaster. I mean, you need to bring in someone who's going to run a more efficient offense and keep Zach Taylor as his player's coach. Believe it.
The next name on this list, it's a hot one.
It's a joke, too.
Urban Meyer.
Next. No, come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Now, anybody?
No,
1 year? So the only reason why I really bring it to the table, to the desk, is because the one and done stuff in the NFL, people really. It takes special situations to look upon that and think that.
All that aside,
but it's everybody.
Name
everybody
one good thing he's done. One objectively good thing Urban Meyer has done for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Nothing.
Just
pick Trevor Lawrence on accident. I mean, he got gifted. He got gifted.
He got auto drafted. They waited till there was 30 seconds left in the round. They got They couldn't even do that right.
No, I think it's obviously releasing with Urban Meyer, and you say it's a special situation, right? For a one and done. This is special, bro. Like he did not fly back with the team, stayed back in Columbus, was grinding on some random chick. Like this is a disastrous situation. He does not have any respect in the locker room. Marvin Jones is calling him out. Trevor Lawrence is asking why James Robinson isn't in. This is by all. I mean, NFL media did that report on Urban Meyer. The league is doing this report on Urban Meyer and him losing trust in the
reports that are coming out sound fake. They're so ridiculous that it's like, how can this possibly be true for a guy who has been doing this for years? Like, this cannot be a real life NFL head coach.
He held a meeting and asked everyone to defend their resumes. This is
that's what happened with us with Eric. Situation. We showed up week 1 for this show, and Eric was like, "I'm a winner." Where you guys need to defend why you're on the desk.
What have you won?
What about Mike Zimmer? Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings.
So I felt if he did have
huge dub this week. Huge.
If he had that Thursday night collapse, though, he'd have been cooked. If Steelers came back and won that one, I think he'd be toast.
If they had lost that game, he would already be a dead man walking. The decision would be made that he's getting released, if you like. I think release anyway. I think the Vikings are objectively not in a bad spot at any of the 3 most important spots, right? Head coach, GM, quarterback. They're all above average, but somehow together it's not working and they've reached a plateau. Something needs to change.
I'm believing more so because you look at him since he got to Minnesota, and those defenses were always top 10 in most categories. Now, I know that's fallen off over the past 2 years, but I think it's pretty clear when you see all the cornerbacks they lost 2 years ago, and now not having Daniil Hunter. When they did have him in the first 8-9 weeks of this year, we saw the defense performing at an admirable level. Obviously, now they lost him and things are going south, but that's my issue with Zach Taylor. He's an offensive coach. Mike Zimmer's a defensive coach. I think you can put together, Zimmer, I think, has made the most out of his parts. You look at third down defense and it's pretty, you see it go up and down, but Zimmer's consistently been at the top of the league. I don't know if Zach Taylor could go be an offensive coordinator somewhere and improve that offense. I'm very confident Zimmer would make any defense in the league a better unit.
I think part of me is believing. I think he would have been, like you said, a dead man walking if he loses that late game collapse against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think a lot of me, I think I would learn a lot from asking Zimmer he thinks that the Minnesota Vikings should do at the quarterback position. If front office said, Zimmer, what should we do? And they're like, we keep Kirk and we keep running. I'm like, oh, we got to go. Because like Zimmer is comfortable then being this like consistently above average but never like a deep postseason contender. But if Zimmer's like, we need to do something different. Like if Zimmer wants to actually have legitimate change at that position and reset this roster offensively, obviously you have some pieces there, right? Justin Jefferson, Brian O'Neill has played really well this year. You have to like keep some of it. But like the quarterback position I think does have to change in Minnesota. From how much they're paying him perspective and also just kind of chasing a higher ceiling at that position. If Zimmer wants that, I think you commit to that. But if Zimmer is comfortable being in this tier, I think you have to kind of reset on the sideline.
I think this one's going to be quick so we can move on to a more hot take one. But Matt Nagy, anybody?
That's over.
Okay, release. Okay. The last one that I really want to talk about is Vic Fangio. What do we do with Vic Fangio here, okay? NFL, I don't want to call him NFL journeyman. He's just been in the NFL for a really long time. Was one of the most respected defensive minds for a really long time.
Still is.
Had his, right.
Everything I just said about Mike Zimmer, I think, applies to Fangio.
So, okay, so you're still believing?
I think I'm believing, but I think we had this in the rehearsal, but I am like, Vic Fangio, why not just be a defensive coordinator for the rest of your, like, I don't, from the outside looking in, I haven't talked to him.
Brent Venables.
From the outside looking in, it just doesn't look like Fangio loves, like, all this, like he's so screwed over the quarterback thing, right? Like he's so screwed over Teddy Bridgewater, he's so screwed over Drew Lock. They like probably asked him, like I think the front office asked him, which quarterback do you want to go with? And they're like, he goes Teddy Bridgewater because he just wants to win more football games. But like he's in such a bad position. I think Fangio, go be a defensive coordinator, be a lifer in the NFL.
I think he likes the paycheck.
You haven't talked to him. Can we make that conversation happen? Because I would love to see you sit there.
Do you want to be a head coach?
To Vic Fangio. Vic, why didn't you just sit there and be a DC for like 20 years? Like, what are you even thinking about going to be a head coach?
What do you see in this image?
Like, what is that?
Do you see a head coaching role? I see a defensive coordinator. No, but I do think. I don't know, man, because I would be pissed because Fangio's smart. He is a good defensive mind.
He's not going to give up head coach money.
But he gets shit on because his team sucks because the quarterback sucks.
So give him a quarterback and then we can make a determination.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't hear a lot of venom out there for Vic Fangio.
And there shouldn't be.
I think that people kind of want some sort of change in Denver and they don't exactly know where to point their anger, because I think they're angry at the quarterback position, but I think they're most angry at the quarterback position because they had a chance to draft both Justin Fields and Mac Jones and they didn't do it.
That's not his call though, right?
No,
right. But George Payton was just signed as the GM. So like if they want some sort of change in how they make decisions, they've got to find it some way. Now, I don't know if that was all Vic. That's the only reason that I legitimately see people wanting him gone, because I agree with all of you guys. Until he gets a quarterback, he really has not gotten a fair shake.
The most venom I've heard sent his way is Austin disgusted at his temerity to take a head coaching job as opposed to just sit in his lane, stay in your lane on the defensive side of the ball. Don't even think about
that's not what I'm saying.
running
He's got a souped-up F-150 pulling up to the facility every week. He ain't giving that up.
Vic, I want what's best for you. You know, I want what's best for him. You know, I want him to not have to deal with these questions about Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater every week. I want him to just be like, how good's your defense? Top 5. See, you know, like every single year my defense is so sound.
Wednesday availability defense coordinator.
I think I've probably talked too long on this. I even folded my legs on this one. But like, I do think they are one of those competitors, right, for Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson.
Right.
Or these
it all changes.
That happens. I think Fangio would like the head coaching role.
Of course, but I think
let me know, Vic. I'll let you know.
Most people would. Sticking in Fangio's division, let's talk about the Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. This one's in Kansas City. They've already faced off once this year, and it didn't go well for the Raiders. Now the Chiefs are sitting there at 8-4. Raiders at 6-6. Raiders a long way from that hot start that they had to the early start of the season. Chiefs at home, almost favored by double digits. 9.5 is the line here. Sam, what do you think about the line?
Yeah, and I think it makes sense given the first game they had. The Raiders looked at the Chiefs running into that game, saw the exact game plan to beat them, and went, no, we're gonna stick with what we do. And it didn't work out. And how badly did it not work out? The Chiefs have scored 3 points, 20 points, 13, 19, 22 with a pick 6 in there. And then the Raiders game, 41. It's like,
not great.
You just literally did not do the thing. And I get it. I understand why you might make that call the first time around, right? We don't run that. We don't want to change our entire defense to fit a game plan that everybody else is having success with. Better the devil that you know. But that isn't the case now, right? The devil you don't know cannot possibly be worse than the one you knew the first time.
Yeah.
So change the game plan, try what everybody else is doing, and if it doesn't work, say la vie.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, I'm from Oakland, California. I had season tickets with my dad, big Raiders fan. My notes for this game look like a self-help book. Say Raiders defense horrendous, offense can't create separation. This will be ugly, blowout. It's all bad. But I agree with it. I think Sam makes great points, right? Like they did not play a ton of too high looks in that 41 blowout that they had, but I think they didn't play a lot too high looks because they don't have too high personnel. Like Jonathan Abram playing too high is bad. Like he's a liability the deeper you push him back.
Why do we insist that Jonathan Abram needs to be on the field?
He's a vocal leader. No, but even if you take him off the field, right? Leave him at home.
Setter.
Leave him in Vegas. Their backup safeties are borderline worse,
How
right?
hard is it to take a deep half of the
It's
field?
not, obviously tough, obviously hard. But I think it doesn't matter if Gus Bradley goes single high, too high. He does not have the personnel to stick with the Chiefs defensively. And then offensively, we're not going to talk a ton about this offense, but they're going against a Kansas City Chiefs defense that ranks third in EPA per play allowed over the past 5 weeks. Spagnuolo has figured it out. And this Raiders offense is not tough to figure out. Darren Waller's not playing in this game. Obviously no Henry Ruggs. This offense has not been able to take the top off of anything. They can't separate. Their best playmaker might be Hunter Renfrow, and he's just a slot weapon, not going to be a legit chain mover, or not a legit needle mover for point total. I think this Raiders team gets blown out again. Like I said, I'm thinking blowout.
Yeah, I'm with Sam where even you can't trust this Raiders defense to really slow down the Chiefs. But what happened to getting Djax more involved in this situation? We all saw
we
on
fumbled that
Thanksgiving.
ball randomly. I was like,
I
what the hell
know,
is going
but we
on?
saw on Thanksgiving, Djax does his thing. He rolls off the couch. He scores a long touchdown against the Cowboys in primetime. And now he's not even playing 50% of the offensive snaps still. So since they have lost Henry Ruggs, this offense has scored 17 or fewer points in every game without his services. So the one good thing has been for Hunter Renfrow in Fantasyland, because you know what? We love that sweet, sweet volume. He has been a true wide receiver one in 4 or 5 games since losing Ruggs for the year. Josh Jacobs, he had 27 targets his entire rookie season. He has 29 since their Week 8 bye. So this is not good for their offense. I think I made that clear with the points. But in Fantasyland, start Renfrow and Jacobs. Let's go make those playoffs, guys.
In the spirit of Eric Eager not being here, let's take a look at the what if happened with these games to the playoff percentages. And I think it's safe to say that the Vegas Raiders really need this one here. With a Las Vegas win, the chances go up a little bit. The playoffs are still alive.
To less than 1% to 40%, I'll take. That's a nice piece.
I think you got to take it. Current division odds, man. The Raiders, after that great start to the year, they're sitting there at 2%. Kansas City Chiefs to win the division, they're sitting at 71. Playoff odds, obviously a little bit better because there's a better chance for the Raiders to get in. But, man, Chiefs win, those playoff chances, they go all the way up to 96. Man, it just does not look good for the Las Vegas Raiders. It really doesn't.
I think, did you save that for the last 20 years for the Las Vegas? The Raiders have been that. It does not look good for literally like 2 decades plus.
This is a very nice stadium.
This is the team that I think I understand the least, is the Raiders. Because
it's probably good for your health.
But they play well for no reason. They play bad for no reason. It's just, I don't even think Derek Carr's that bad. There are parts of the team that I think are fine, but it doesn't matter. It's just like some weeks he'll go, gonna play bad. Some weeks defense could be playing really good, and a couple weeks they just, nope, gonna play bad now. I understand the Raiders by far the least out of every team in the NFL.
To be fair to them, they don't have a head coach. One of the key pieces of their offense, killed somebody in a car and is not with the team anymore. Darren Waller is their best player, isn't playing. There are reasons that this team is not what it looked like earlier in the season.
But I also argue, too, that this Raiders team has faced an unreal level of trauma and challenge off of the football field with all this stuff that's happened. And that is obviously a huge factor.
Sure,
and
but
the Derek Carr comment for me is Derek Carr is a top 14, top 12 quarterback in the NFL. The problem is a 10 to 14 quarterback will never elevate this roster, right? This roster has been bad for legitimately 15, 20 years. They have not had a legitimately talented roster for so long, and as good as Derek Carr is, it's not enough, right? It's like he's in this Kirk Cousins tier where if the supporting cast is bad, he's playing bad. If the supporting cast is good, he's playing good. And there's been 1 year where they had Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, a good offensive line, they could run the football, where they actually had a chance, breaks his leg on Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas AG, and then the whole thing gets toast.
Mahomes is going to I cannot say anything after that. That has to be the capstone of the Derek Carr experience. Ian, you were talking about before about Mahomes and how well he's been playing.
That's the one thing I do understand about the Raiders, that they cannot stop Patrick Mahomes. How many times do we need to see this? Since coming in, obviously getting a starting job in 2018. Like, the only game that has been even moderately met was that Week 13 game where just a weird game script where they were blowing them out, so it didn't really even matter. So, I mean, that is the one consistency with the Raiders, is that they cannot stop who has usually been the best quarterback in football. Obviously hasn't been the case over the past 6-7 weeks, but you talk about a get-right spot. And this is why, when we were talking about the AFC earlier, I brought up the point that they're still 8-4, despite not having the best version of Mahomes. I know last time him getting right against the Raiders wasn't him getting right, but maybe this time, if he can, this is the scariest team in the AFC once again.
All right. It's Inactives time.
Oh, no.
It's time to bring Kendall into the show to give us the Inactives. And last week we had a couple weeks ago we had a pretty great reaction. But Kendall, give us either the good or the bad news.
We've got the regular ones: Elijah Mitchell, Jamal Adams, Calvin Ridley, Michael Carter. Ones that came down late though: J.D. McKissic out, Tony Pollard out, Jimmy Smith, Ronnie Harrison Jr., and then the Texans placed running back David Johnson on the COVID-19 list. So they are all inactive today.
Oh, no, Texans without David Johnson. Might as well call it.
Wow, they might lose.
Jimmy Smith, though, the Ravens just have no.
No, they're screwed. No, people did not bring up enough why the Ravens. John Harbaugh after that game, why did you go? Not John. Yeah, John Harbaugh. I always get it mixed up. No, it's Jim. No, it's John.
This is incredible.
John Harbaugh brought up after that game why he went for two is because he's like, I didn't think we had any corners left.
Yeah.
And now in this game, guess what? You don't have any corners left, and they're going to have to play an entire game.
So they're just going to go for two every time.
On the road against a Browns team off a bye. I think this could be
I think that Pollard injury might actually be a positive for the Cowboys. We even saw last week with the banged-up Zeke, they were more reluctant
You're
to...
just trying to get Zeke 20 touchdowns.
No, I think they'll throw the ball way more than usual.
Too bad for Tony Pollard. Feed Zeke. Feed him.
And then on the other side of things, no J.D. McKissic. It is ridiculous. Antonio Gibson, collegiate wide receiver, and they won't throw him the ball. But that has been the case throughout most of the year. He's had a nice little second half resurgence in Fantasyland, not having J.D. McKissic stealing all those third downs, or more importantly, stealing the hurry up, the comeback mode stuff if Dallas does get a lead. I mean, Gibson is cemented as a top 5 fantasy back this week. And Zeke, not quite up there, but hey guys, a couple 5-touchdown games here and there. We'll see what happens.
I think Tony Pollard being hurt is good.
It's a throw the ball.
I'm kidding. Just kidding.
Where's Eric?
We've got I don't know where Eric is, but we've got Darius Butler on the line. But before we get to him, we got a lot of new dare I says that we're going to get into, some hot takes. I've seen a preview of a couple of them. They're going to be fantastic. But before we get to that, I got to remind you guys about a way where you could see all of these great premium stats that we're talking about here on the show. We ran through the mock draft simulator. You can use that. You can see all the premium stats within the mock draft simulator. You can do it when you're researching your team, who they're playing this week. It's fantastic. Head over to PFF.com. Get yourself an Edge or an Elite subscription. There's 2 different ways to where you can see all that stuff. When you go in and you look at the subscriptions, it'll break down exactly what you get with each of them. It'll show you the price points. Check it out. Use PFF.com. Be able to see all these premium stats that we're using here on this desk. All right, now we got our guy, DB, Darius Butler, here on the show with us. Another week of takes, another week of best bets, some money lines, everything we're going to get to. Darius, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you guys doing?
Man, outstanding. I love the energy. That's why Darius is on the show. For the energy, for the takes, everything. Actually, all right, we're going to talk about your best bets. We're going to relive some of the dare I says that we've had throughout the season. But before we get to that, I got to talk about a tweet that you fired off this week because Josina Anderson was giving props to Josh McDaniels, talking about how, that situation with him maybe being the head coach in Indianapolis didn't really work out. Tom Brady leaves, but they move on from Cam Newton. They get Mac Jones. It's a rookie. Josina's giving Josh McDaniels some big-time props. Wants some respect with a capital R on that statement. And then from Darius, we get a quote tweet, and we just get in all caps a little hell no, respectfully. Respectfully, of course. You gave the capital R respectfully, but I gotta know what was the purpose? What was the root behind that quote tweet right there?
I mean, I just saw it. I didn't have a problem with anything else but putting some respect on that guy's name. Great coach, great play caller. Obviously, he can work with a variety of quarterbacks. But as far as putting respect on his name, that's something that I will never do. You can see that Colts helmet still over my shoulder. Remember how he left us hanging. I mean, Colts ended up with Frank Wright, which I feel like was a great match, the coach position. And Josh probably wasn't the guy anyway. but still didn't like how he did it. It was very unprofessional. And I'm sure I speak for a ton of Colts fans when I said that tweet. And I kept it as clean as possible.
Look, Ricky Bobby
good coach, doing a great job with Mac Jones, but I wouldn't put any respect on his name anytime soon.
Well, you said hell no respectfully.
As long as you say with all due respect, respectfully, you can say whatever you want. That's true. That's how our world works.
Exactly.
I feel like he doesn't only just speak for a ton of Colts fans, but also like a ton of players, right? Like a ton of players had to have felt disrespected by Josh McDaniels and the unprofessionalism of that whole situation. Like that was pretty awful by all standards, for sure.
Do we think he gets a head coach gig at some point? 'Cause he's somewhat still young.
I think he's the heir apparent in New England, right? Like he's just going to stick around until Bill Belichick tests.
You don't think Steve Belichick with the mullet and the tongue action?
I think Steve Belichick is like a lifer defensive coordinator, or I think he's not. I don't know if that guy's ever going to be a head coach.
Okay.
At least not yet. I haven't seen any signs yet. Guy looks he looks fine where he's at.
Okay. All right. We'll stick with it. All right. Let's dig into some of these Darius says, because throughout the season with Darius Butler here on the show, we've had a little segment called Dare I Say. Obviously, a little play on Darius' words, and it's a way for us to give. Yes, in case people didn't know that, it's a little way for us to give some, I don't know, hot takes. I just got edgy takes.
Scorching hot takes.
Some of them have been a little scorching hot. So we're going to revisit some of them here on the show, and then we're going to give some new ones as well. Sam, I'm going to start with you, because the week one, the very first Dare I Say that we had on this show was you saying that Washington would cruise to the division title. How you feeling about it?
Well, look. Cruising.
Anytime you have to start with, well, look.
All right. It's been a weird world in the last couple of years. Cruising has been a little different than it's been in the past. So ultimately, Washington are now in position to make the playoffs. They are, I think, 55% using our models to make the playoffs. More likely than not to get there. It's been a bumpy cruise. It's been a bumpy journey, but we might get there anyway.
Yeah, maybe not all you can eat. Maybe the spa's not really working, but it's still a cruise, damn it. We're still going to
They're on a fucking life raft. This is a life raft, okay? This is not a cruise. They're on a life raft with, like, COVID on every single defensive end.
You don't think any cruise?
You don't have Dare I Say. Just stay out.
I have a Dare I Say.
This is true.
I wish I was here week one for this Dare I Say, because this is trash.
You don't think any cruise has ended with life rafts?
No.
Sometimes it happens.
Oh, I think there was a movie about one, actually. Okay,
they died. They all died.
The other one on week 5, before I get Darius' take on it. Sam, you said that the Seahawks will miss the playoffs for only the second time in Russell Wilson's career. I think that's pretty good. Darius, what do you think about this one? The Washington call, and then obviously the Seattle call too.
I mean, the Washington call, I think Taylor Heineke ended up saving his ass on this one.
Yeah.
But I would definitely not cruising, but they do control their own destiny right now, week 14. So I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, especially how they came out of the gate. Run game, up front, been physical. So surprising about Washington football team. Big game today. And then the Seattle one, I mean, that was right on point. I'm sure that sounded crazy at that point. But obviously Seattle struggled. Russell got hurt even when he came back. Even before he got hurt, he wasn't playing great. Got hurt, came back, played even worse. Last week, got a win, played better. So that one definitely don't look like they're going to the playoffs this year, at least in my opinion. So I think that one's spot on.
Yeah, we're going to dig into that Dallas-Washington game in a second, but that looks like a good call, that second one, Sam. That's good on you. Ian.
Eric's, right?
Eric. Ian. Your first, Dare I Say, in week 1, Ezekiel Elliott will score 20 combined touchdowns this season. He's at 9 through week 13. Never say never. And then week 5, when we did our second one, you said Mahomes will pass for 60 touchdowns, and he is currently at 25.
I think that was right after the Washington game where he threw 5. He looked like he was back, and since then he has literally only looked good against the Raiders. So I come to you all humbled, and we'll see how the next one goes.
Darius, what did you think about these?
I mean, the touchdown ones, that was, he would have had to have an all-time season, obviously. So that one won't get it. The Zeke, I mean, we've seen Jonathan Taylor run off 5 touchdowns. We've seen who ran for 4. I think Lenny had 4. I still don't think he sniffs 20 but you got a chance. Still time left.
A lot of time left.
You went bold with the takes. And, that's the point of the
That's
exercise.
what it has to be. Yeah.
Right.
What dumbass things has Austin said that we can rip apart?
Dude, I haven't been on the show for a reason. Okay, you guys don't want the dumbass things.
Speaking of dumbass things, let's look at Eric's. That was too harsh. Eric's, dare I say, throughout the season. The first one.
Oh my God.
I mean, this was soft.
What an idiot!
This is soft. This one was soft. Okay, the Jets will be, quote, competitive.
Very
in the
competitive.
AFC. Sorry, yes, very competitive in the AFC
That's
this
trash.
season. Not only was it not a bold take because it was just ambiguous, but it was also the Jets.
Because he could spin it to be like, yeah, they have been competitive.
Right,
They are.
And he has been throughout the show.
That's a
He's been
disaster.
spinning it.
That's a disaster.
And then the other one was, we will forget all about the quarterback rookie struggles by December. Let me check my watch here. It is December.
No.
And
I haven't forgotten.
you haven't forgot. You haven't forgot. Darius, have you forgotten the rookie struggles?
Absolutely not. The only one that was doing good then is still the only one doing good now, and that's Mac Jones. Eric was obviously really, really high on Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And obviously he struggled. That whole team is struggling. And I think I remember when he said that take, I said they wouldn't be competitive in the AFC East, and they're stinking it up. I don't know where the hell he was coming from with that one. That was some wild stuff right there, Eric.
My first one, my week one prediction is the one that I'm most proud of because it still has a shot.
That's just because it hasn't had a chance.
It's the one that I'm most proud of because it still has a shot, Sam.
This is trash.
And that is that Green Bay does not win a single playoff game this year. It could happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
It could happen.
Of course it could happen.
It's a bold take that
It's a
could
one and done
happen.
It's not a bold take.
What do you mean it's not a bold take? They're not. What are they? 9-3?
I think that's trash. I
We
don't
said
know.
before the show, 9-3 though, but a worse point differential than the Philadelphia Eagles.
But if they're at home in the playoffs, which they're on their way to
They could be facing a winning Lambeau guy.
No, I don't.
You
I
know?
just don't see that
just
happening.
never
I think
know.
Green Bay's a good team this year. One of my favorite bets.
Well, I went bold for a reason.
Yeah.
And then my week 5 pick was that the Steelers will be picking in the top 5 of the draft this year. They're picking right now, I think 15th is where they are. So got a little bit of ways to go. I'm not sure Mike Tomlin and the boys are going to finish with a top 5 draft pick. But all right, Darius, be easy. What do you think about mine?
I mean, I'm not betting on Mike Tomlin. Even with Big Ben there, he's been terrible obviously a lot of the year, but he showed some sparks and throws last week. I wouldn't pick as long as that combo's together. They're not picking in the top 5. What was the first one?
The Green Bay. Green Bay doesn't win a single.
Oh yeah,
playoff.
See that one just left my that one just left my head because absolutely not. Turtleneck A-Rod will be in Lambeau and he's gonna win at least one. So if he gets a bye week, does that count? He is a
No,
first.
so
I think it does.
what do you mean?
That should count as a win, right?
I'm just kidding.
No. I think if they get the bye, then yeah, obviously I'm probably screwed here.
The
but-
reason this is a terrible take is because you can sit there all season
Terrible.
long essentially saying, well, I haven't been proved wrong yet.
Yeah.
It's literally, you have one shot. It shows up the first playoff
Listen,
game.
The fact that was your
week.
week one, dare I say, is garbage. I mean, it's literally garbage.
Listen, one, this is your first time on the show. Watch your tone. 2, it's just like the game we played last week, the blind game,
Right.
where all I had to do is just wait for you guys to say wrong
Gaming the
answers.
system.
Guys, the important thing is that Eric's were trash.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
We are all united
Yeah.
in that Eric's were absolute garbage. Darius, your 2 dare I say is the week 1 was about the NFC West QBs and the 49ers. Did you say that the 49ers were going to win the NFC
I
West?
said they had the strongest quarterback situation in the league.
I did. And now Russ but hear me out. Russ hasn't looked great.
Look,
He looked back. Matt Stafford here down the stretch hasn't been looking great. He's been looking bad unless he's playing the Jaguars. Kyler Murray, he's been hurt. You know, Jimmy G, he's been finding his groove. I expected more from Trey Lance. I expected more of a Trey Lance package. I expected Jimmy G to play even better than he's playing right now. But there's still time for this to play out.
and then the other one
So
was...
I'm with you, Trey. There's still time.
All right, so there we go. Okay, now
I don't think that takes that
See,
terrible.
he changed the tone when he was reminded of his first week 1. Now we changed it. And then the last one was Justin Herbert. Your week 5, dare I say, was Justin Herbert wins MVP. And for a while there, it didn't look great. Looking a little better now. So the Justin Herbert
A
will
little
win
better,
MVP.
too. Yeah. If it wasn't for Tom Brady still whooping Father Time's ass, if it wasn't for him, he'd at least have a shot. And if the Chargers could be a little more consistent. Another big game this week. He had a big game last week.
Yes.
And if you look at all the PFF numbers, he's top 5 in damn near every one. So maybe he wins the PFF MVP. Who knows?
Sam, that's up to you. You do the awards. Make it happen for Darius.
Sam.
All right, so let's get to some dare I says for this part of the season. I'm not sure if this will be the last one. Maybe we'll do like a playoff edition. Who knows? But we like the segment, so let's add another log to that fire of us roasting ourselves. Sam, what is your dare I say bold take that you are putting on the line for this week?
It looks like we're inevitably and tragically marching towards a Super Bowl of Tom Brady versus the New England Patriots.
Oh my God,
Bucks,
that'd be
Patriots, master apprentice.
I would love that.
No, but
insufferable for 2 weeks.
It's a free team.
In theory, it'll be nice, but then you get 2 weeks of that analysis, and then you want to kill yourself by the end.
No, I don't. That would be the best Super Bowl for content by a country mile, dude. That would be gorgeous. Like, regardless who wins, it's going to be just so much content off of that.
Yeah, the
game.
Patriots and Brady, they just haven't had enough.
If Brady wins, Belichick's not a Hall of Fame coach. He's never doesn't deserve any win he's had.
Well, you're an Ohio State fan. You're an Ohio State fan. All you
said
do
no college football talk. We said no college football talk.
Okay, Ian, what is your bold take?
I think for the second straight year, Alvin Kamara will be not the real life MVP, but the fantasy playoff MVP. We all remember that 6-touchdown game he had last year with the Christmas cleats on. Right now, Mark Ingram, Ty Montgomery out of the picture. Kamara's missed some time, back in action. I know it's Taysom under center. I know he's playing. He can barely throw as it is, and now he's got a banged up finger. I'm confident he can at least exist in that 1 second from getting the snap, throwing that dump down. Alvin Kamara, fantasy MVP.
Darius, what do you think about this one? Both Sam's and Ian's.
Well, the Patriots Belichick Bowl, the Belichick Brady Bowl. I picked that. I said that back in March. I had to bring up my tweets, and I went on NFL Network and doubled down. As far as Kamara, I don't know. He's been he's obviously been up and down this year. He's been banged up. He's get back in the lineup, and they'll need him to be an MVP to have a chance to do anything. But I don't think they get to the playoffs. 3-way tie, 5-7 in the NFC South. I don't think they don't make it happen.
All
but
right.
I do get a win today against the Jets.
All right, Austin, what do you got? The whole show, you've just been able to listen to us and poke holes in our, dare I say, is now put something on the line.
So I will be honest, I do think that this, dare I say, is kind of soft.
Here we go.
When
Sitting in Eric's
I originally
chair,
had
changes.
this idea, when I originally had this, dare I say, coming back from Ann Arbor, coming back from that Michigan-Ohio State dub over your Ohio State Buckeyes, Aiden Hutchinson was plus 1,600. Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan edge defender, highest grade defensive player in all of college football, was plus 1,600 to go number 1 overall. Bet it then. Michigan betting's legal, thank God. Now you can't even get odds on that pick because Aiden Hutchinson, I think, will be the number 1 overall pick. Jim Harbaugh said it. I've said it. I mean, both those guys are similar too.
Oh, let's find out in May. Sweet.
What do you mean find out in May?
Yeah. We can't even roast you about it till like 5 months down the road.
Well, you could bet on it soon, though.
Okay.
You should take it.
All right. Aiden Hutchinson, a pass rusher from Michigan, going number 1 overall. Darius, thoughts?
I mean, I like it. I don't watch a bunch of college football. The highlights and the things that I saw him do something against Ohio State. Telling the guy, "Yeah, come on, bring your ass over here, bring it," and just pulverize him. So I like it. He's up there. He was in there in the Heisman race. He got second place. So I can go with that. Pass rushers are a premium. These quarterbacks in this class, kind of mid right now. So I'm with that. I'm on board with that.
Let's go. All right. Okay. All right. That was soft. It was soft.
It was soft. I said it was soft.
It was soft. But
that was easy. That was a layup.
Yeah, it was a layup.
We'll give it to you. My dare I say, I don't know what. I honestly don't know what you guys are going to think about this. Browns win the AFC North.
Boo.
Browns win the AFC North. Right now they are in 4th place in the division, but they're only 2 games back. And they can still control their own destiny because they play everybody within the division. They're 6-6. I think the Browns win. The Ravens aren't playing well. The Steelers stink. The Bengals could unravel at any time.
Wow.
Mayfield, winning the division. What do we think, Darius?
I mean, if Lamar wasn't playing, so I need to see Lamar. If Lamar wasn't playing so bad these last 4 or 5 weeks, it would be hard to argue. But I mean, that's not a bad argument.
No, I like it too. Cause, I mean, you have Lamar not playing well, right? And then you also have they're reeling with injuries in the secondary. Marlon Humphrey's going to miss time. He's on the injured reserve.
Yeah.
The Steelers have Big Ben, so you can fucking throw them out the window. And the Bengals, Bengals, like you said, could unravel.
Who knows?
They couldn't win against Los Angeles. They got a tough game today with San Francisco coming to Cincy. Like Bengals lose a couple more games. I do think that the Browns could win it. I like that pick.
Yeah, you've been seeing running and playing defense be successful right now in the league. So if they can do that, they can hang their hat on that. They could do it. I can't trust Baker though. It's Baker, Lamar. Yeah. Bro, I mean that's a tough one. That's all right.
This is part of the Baker story, right? Just like give you little wins here, so you believe in him. Like him overcoming like a 2-game deficit to win the division, and yet maybe get bounced in the first round. Like that. Come on. You can't tell me there's nothing more Baker than that.
I don't want to talk about the Baker story on this show.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Darius, let's talk about your best bet of the day, because this is a game that we saved for this exact segment. When we saved this preview here, Dallas versus Washington. Sam's got a lot on the line with this one.
Uh-oh.
Ian talked about the Dallas Cowboys being one of his big Super Bowl bets because he thinks that the number is juicy. What do you think about this one? Why do you like the Cowboys as your best bet of the day?
I mean, Cowboys look great. They were probably a lot of teams, a lot of people's Super Bowl pick coming out of the gates, fell off, had injuries, had some COVID, some issues with coaches, a lot of things. But I think this is the time of the season when they get back on their horse, man. Jerry Jones came out, started talking in detail like he does, like no other owner does, about the passing game and the timing and the spacing. So as a quarterback, as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, you can ignore and block out a lot of voices. That's one voice you can't. So they definitely will respond today. And Mike McCarthy, Big Mike, went out there and said on record, hey, we're going to go in here and win this game. That came out, backed them up. So a lot of pressure on the team. I think they show up in the divisional matchup. Both teams right now control their own destiny. So I think, Washington football team will show up. But ultimately, the Cowboys win, and they win it, by at least a score, at least a touchdown today.
Yeah, the line is 4.5 on this one. It's in Washington, but Dallas is favored by that 4.5. Sam, what do you think about this?
Darius, does the fact that Mike McCarthy guaranteed a victory scare you in any way, shape, or form? Because that feels like the kind of thing that comes back to haunt you pretty quickly.
I mean, no, it doesn't, honestly, because they need, especially at this point in the season, because if you watch that Saints game last week, I expect them to go in there and dominate. I felt like they had every opportunity to win that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. They never really put it away in the second half. So I think this was McCarthy. He's been catching a lot of heat for not being the motivator and not getting his team. So this is one of those things. You come out and you say it, and then you go in the locker room and you say, damn right I said it. You know what I mean? And the players are kind of like, all right, we got to get our stuff together. So I don't think it'll come back and bite them, but this Taylor Heineke-led Washington football team has been tough, especially this point in the season. So it'll be definitely a game I'm tuning into.
I think that's one of those statements, though, that motivates both sides, right? Like the Cowboys players are obviously motivated because like he's guaranteeing a win, and then obviously Washington's like, oh, this motherfucker, like we gotta have to show him up. I think that's I like it. I think that's cool from.
They're all playing football. Aren't we all motivated enough when you got?
No. I think you need some. I mean, week 13, week 14, you're battered.
They're motivated.
Talk aside, I think the big differentiator in this game is going to be, can Taylor Heineke continue to be a top 10 quarterback? Like, we've seen him flash that, but then it's always followed by him falling off the Buccaneer wildcard game sometimes early on. But since their bye week, he has been far more consistent than we've seen in the past. Weeks 10 through weeks 13, he has been a top 10 highest graded passer in each and every single game. I don't think with the way the Washington pass rush is going, anyone's expecting them to totally shut down the Cowboys. So if we're going to be, I would say if you're betting on Washington, you're probably betting on the under 2 because you're assuming they're going to slow them down. But either way, Heineke, McLaurin, these guys got to keep up to some extent.
I'm really looking forward to the Diggs-McLaurin matchup. And it's not a guarantee that they're going to go up against each other all the time, but Diggs did face off against McLaurin once last year. Only gave up 1 catch. Had 3 targets, only gave up 1 catch. The issue was that 1 catch was a 52-yard touchdown. So it was the boom or bust portion of Trayvon Diggs. And so I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I think that McLaurin is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Obviously, Diggs is having a fantastic season. Darius, what do you think about Diggs getting to go up against McLaurin here this week?
I would love to see that matchup, but even more important than that, and there has been some hopes. The Cowboys kind of have been living off of splash plays on the defensive side of the ball because they do, even watching that last week's game again, he'll just miss some guys, but they were leaving some free runners in that secondary. So they got to fix that up. And what helps them fix those issues, those guys that they have up front, and they're getting healthier. Mars Lawrence, Reddy Gregory, and Michael Parsons, this rookie, should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. So Dan Quinn got these guys flying around making plays. if they can get up a couple scores on this Washington football team, I don't think they can keep up the scoring pace. So it's going to be stopping that run early and getting after this quarterback Heineke when they need to drop back and pass.
All right, a couple minutes left in the show. Let's get to some PFF stats of the week. So if you are new here, what we like to do here on the show, at the end of the show, we do tons of research, hopefully, as you guys can tell, previewing all of the games and the matchups and the standings and everything, but we don't always get to shout out some of the really great premium stats, premium numbers that we find within the PFF Ultimate database. So want to give everybody here at the desk a chance to maybe shout out something that they find, a stat with a game that we talked about, or maybe it's a point that they just want to continue to hammer home that they brought up already throughout the show. So Sam, I'm going to start with you. What is your PFF premium stat of the week?
Kyler Murray is the only quarterback in the NFL with a passer rating above 100, both kept clean, which a lot of quarterbacks have done, and under pressure. And look, Austin doesn't like passer rating because he's born in like the year 2000 or something, and he thinks it's an old, outdated
anyone
statistic.
likes passer rating.
But here's the thing. Passer rating is not the worst stat in the world as long as you apply it to the passing offense as a whole, not just the quarterback. It's a lousy measure of quarterback play, but it does show you that the passing game is functioning regardless of whether you put Kyler Murray under pressure.
What do you think? The Arizona Cardinals are the only passing attack with 100 versus clean and 100 versus
Why don't you just...
But I think that Murray obviously a major part of that, right? I think he's having a fantastic season. Like Murray, we were talking about his MVP in the league before he got hurt, right? Now he just misses a lot of time, and now it just seems the gap is too wide, right? Brady's playing too well. Guys ahead of him are playing too well. But, I mean, what do you think about how Murray's playing so far this season, Darius?
He's playing phenomenal. Obviously, last week I think ugly weather, ugly game, but still played a pretty clean game. And this week I think you see him step that up, especially against the Rams in prime time. But like you both said, he would definitely be an MVP conversation, real MVP conversation if he didn't miss that gap of games. But I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, he's in the Coach of the Year conversation because of how he's had this team playing since week one, even in Kyler Murray's absence. Getting Colt McCoy in there and keeping this team afloat. So I'm impressed by this team, these playmakers, all up and down this offense, from even bringing in Zach Ertz late. James Conner, I don't know he may score 20 touchdowns this year. We're talking about Zeke earlier on, but James Conner, just Rondale Moore, the draft pick, looks great. Just these picks and these players all up and down this roster. Great job by the GM, the head coach, and the quarterback.
My best bet for Super Bowl, likes hearing what he's saying there. All right, Ian, what do you got as your stat?
I'd be stomping on you guys right now if I called Connor 20 touchdowns in week one. That would have been nice, dare I say. I'm going a little more negative here because some people like to watch the world burn, but DJ Moore, I think, has been so good since coming to the league, but he's already starting to become his generation's Allen Robinson, Andre Johnson, the guy that just has one scrub quarterback after another. With all due respect to Cam, we know he hasn't been the same guy the last few years. So with all that in mind, the most incomplete targets this year that were deemed to be the quarterback's fault. Number one, DJ Moore with 24 of them. The guy's still only 24 years old, even though I think this is his fourth year in the league. At some point, guys, let's get DJ Moore an A-plus elite quarterback.
Man, be nice. Be nice for my fantasy.
Man, yeah.
Sure.
You can imagine.
Cam had a rough outing last time he was out there against the Dolphins. And now, DJ Moore, you're still getting Cam, but you got a new OC. Your OC got fired. They got Jeff Nixon, who's going to be calling plays, who's a running backs guy. So I expect a heavy dose of run game today. So not today, DJ Moore,
what's
not
Moore's
today.
Contract situation? Has he had an extension, or is he still on his rookie contract?
He's not signing.
I can see him being on his way out, man. And Carolina looks bleak right now. If they don't get an upgraded quarterback, I think he should leverage that opportunity.
Well, yeah. If they don't get an upgraded quarterback quick, a lot might be changing in Carolina. A lot more than maybe DJ Moore. So,
for sure.
Austin, what's your stat of the week?
My stat of the week is tied to my pick for Aiden Hutchinson to be number one overall pick in 2022. The highest graded edge defenders in the history of PFF grading college football, so it goes back to 2014, are Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, and Aiden Hutchinson. Two of the best edge defenders currently in the NFL. Wow. Aiden Hutchinson coming in at number 3. I do think that when it's all said and done, he will be the number one overall pick. You're already seeing mock drafts from Mike Renner here at PFF, Dane Brugler, Todd McShay, and Mel Kiper, all putting up number one overall. I do think he ultimately goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unreal season from Aiden Hutchinson. We saw him at the Heisman Trophy ceremony for a reason, because he's fantastic.
What's the gap between him and the kid from Oregon?
It's not big.
It's not that big.
It's not big at all. I would say it's really it's going to come down to, I think, just really preference of the coaching staff, basically, because I think Thibodeau's a little bit more athletically gifted.
No. That's the thing.
I do.
Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is going to test better. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to test better for his size. Aiden Hutchinson's like 260, right? Kevin Thibodeau a little bit lighter. Aiden Hutchinson was number 2 on Bruce Feldman's freaks list for a reason. This guy is insane.
No, he is a worker.
Legitimately insane.
I'm with you.
Kevin Thibodeau wasn't on that fucking list at all. And we talked to Bruce Feldman about it, and he says he's not the most athletic player on that team. So there is people think that the testing's going to hit and Kayvon Thibodeau's going to light it up.
This
but
is a draft show?
Aiden Hutchinson is going to light it up.
It is now.
It is now.
Okay, wow.
I think people are wrong to think that Kayvon Thibodeau's going to blow him out in Indy.
Okay, that's your stat of the week. That's your dare I say.
That's my dare I say.
Come on. Okay, now he's warmed up a little bit, folks. Now he's giving you guys the good stuff. We have talked about offensive tackle Trent Williams a lot on this show. We also have a metric called wins above average. Basically, if you're a big baseball guy, wins above replacement. It's kind of similar to that, where we try to really give you the value of every single player. Trent Williams' wins above average right now is almost double the player who is behind him in second place right now. Almost double. He also has the highest non-quarterback wins above average for any offensive player. Wow. Obviously, quarterback is insane. When you take a quarterback off, betting lines move, season predictions move, everything. And so quarterback's going to be the most important wins above average just because it means so much to the game. But for an offensive tackle for Trent Williams to be higher than any offensive weapon, mainly wide receivers that are being fantastic, I mean, it's just, it's a testament to an insane season that Trent Williams is having. And also wanted to give a shout out, Rashawn Slater. 4th highest wins above average score that we have, the rookie offensive tackle. He's been great. Darius, what do you think about those guys?
I mean, impressive. I mean, that's the side of the field you do not have to worry about when it comes to the pass rush, especially when you talk about Trent. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, especially with all he went through, physically and off the field, to fight through that and then come back and to be right there at the top of his game. As a Colts fan, I was hoping we got him. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers were smart enough to not let him even think about leaving the building. What does he have, a 99 grade on PFF right now? Something crazy like that.
Is it 99? Did he get up to 99?
It's 97 or something. It's the highest we've ever seen. The next 2 guys on the list are the tail end of Jonathan Ogden's career and Joe Thomas. So, he's ahead of Hall of Famers.
Not bad. not bad.
Also with PFF grades too, right? And Sam, you could probably speak to this more than I can because you've been at PFF longer and you're older. No, but when you get into the 96s and 97s in PFF grade, it's hard. That is hard. 91 through 95 is not the same as getting 96 to 98 because that upper tier is the bell curve gets fucking tight.
The higher the number, the harder it is to keep moving up.
Exactly.
So for Williams to be up at 97 is ridiculous.
It's insane. You want it to be a 99, right? But getting into the 97 range is rare for any position at PFF.
All right, we're going to check in with Kendall
at
some point.
Rare air.
We're going to check in with Kendall before we get out of here. We're going to see if she thought any of our dare I say takes were too crazy. But Darius, real quick, do you have a dog of the day? Do you have a dog of the day bet before we get out of here? A team that you really like here this week?
I mean, we were talking about DJ Moore and the Falcons and their struggles and issues, and they're playing the Falcons today. The Falcons are going into Bank of America to play the Panthers, and I think they get a win. I think they are 2.5-point dogs last I checked. I think they come out there with a win, so I'm taking the Falcons money line over the Panthers in the NFC South battle. Going Matt Ryan, he's getting another weapon with Hayden Hurst back in the lineup. You already got Pitts. You got Patterson, the PFF MVP. So I'm going Falcons to get a win.
The P in PFF stands for Patterson. In case everybody out there did not know that. All right, so Falcons, that's good. Kendall, did anything stand out to you for the takes or anything, any of us extra crazy this week?
No, you guys were pretty boring.
Oh,
you guys were pretty boring. I will say, we give crap to Ian, we give crap to Eric for swearing. I think Austin has made this show rated R. We have to have a ticker that says, "Do not let your children watch this show today. Austin is here."
I know. I am the worst.
I have to throw that out there.
I'm going to be better. I did it for Darius. I want to be cool. Trying to be cool in front of Darius. I'm sorry.
I'll say open it up.
He just had to up the ratings of the show. He had to bring the extreme to the show here.
Darius, you
I like it.
All right, before we get too off the road, before Austin gets us kicked off of YouTube, thank you guys so much for watching. For Darius Butler, Kendall Valenzuela, Sam Monson, Ian Hartitz, and whether or not Austin Gayle is going to be allowed back on the show, I am Trevor Sikkema. Enjoy the games this week. We'll see you guys next week.